I didn't know that you worked at Espy Mercantile.
Well, listen, you know, it was every person who becomes of age in Headland in my generation always found a job. You know, everybody worked somewhere, and I found a job at Espy Mercantile Company in Headland. At that time, you don't remember that? That was over and done with when you came along.
Well, they still have the Mercantile, but that shop, you mean downtown?
But the grocery store.
That was over.
Okay, among the items that we sold, cheese in, you know, the wooden container. Then you have to cut a pound of cheese. I got very good.
Oh, yeah. Did you nibble any of that cheese?
No.
Did you taste any of it?
Oh, it was always good.
Good,
I
all
had
right.
to sample it, yeah. But anyway, we had cheese, and then we had a wooden box that had bacon in it. Some had been smoked, cured, and some had only been salted. I don't know how much you know about Southern cooking, but white meat is bacon that has been cured only with salt, no smoke or anything like that. So, but anyway, my customers would want a pound of bacon. Well, here's a slab of bacon. So more often it was 2 or 3 pounds. But anyway, I have a very sharp knife, and I can cut pretty close.
Do you have one of those steel mesh gloves on your left hand to keep from cutting?
No,
You didn't
no,
do that,
they
did
didn't
you?
supply that.
Okay.
So anyway, but I would cut off the bacon and the cheese. Then we also sold kerosene by the gallon. And people at that time, there was not very many electric stoves, so cooking and heating or whatever else, maybe they needed a lot of kerosene. But anyway, they always had their own container, and we'd fill it. And then another thing that we sold was chicken feed. Large.
But it's all in the same. There was a separate store, like a little feed and seed store, just all in one big area.
All in one.
Okay.
Most of
like a Cracker Barrel of that time, right? You have anything.
That's probably true. And so, but anyway, the chicken feed was in large, huge croaker sacks. And so my first customer one Sunday morning. Well, go back a little bit. You remember Mr. Hodges?
Oh yes.
And each Saturday when we got to work, he would send us a little slip of paper. Do not allow these people to have credit today.
And that was decided each day, pretty much?
On Saturday,
okay.
I think. Most of the shopping was done on Saturday back then, believe it or not. And anyway, so on one Saturday morning, there was notice from Mr. Hodges, do not give anybody credit today. And my very first customer was Mr. Webster Buckner, and you know where his place is, out on 134. Sits way back from the road, and there, I think pecan trees or something. He has a son, Mike Buckner, who became a physician and still lives out there. I don't think he ever, I think his work maybe might have been in Albany to start with, but anyway, he's been here a long time. And then but anyway, he was a highly respected citizen and farmer, a businessman and whatever. I mean, so most often the people who were not to get credit were tenants of Espy's. So anyway, but this particular day, he'd said don't let any of them have credit today. And my first customer, I didn't know he meant the general public. So anyway, but when I said, well, we can't charge, I helped him load up his chicken feed. And then he said, make me a ticket of that, please, young lady. And I said, I'm sorry, I can't charge anything today. And so Mr. Carr, who was the boss man, realized that I hemmed myself up in a corner, so he said, oh, that's not what he was talking about. He's welcome to that. You know, go ahead and write his ticket. So I did, but no, ever after, when I would see him, he would say, how's my credit today?
He joked with you that way. But it really was, Mr. Hodges did not want anyone. You followed.
I followed the instructions I was given. Yeah, right.
But but there still were exceptions.
Oh,
I think Mr. Buckner would have been that exception.
Yes.
But what do you remember about Granddad Major and his involvement with the Mercantile? What did you think of him back then?
I really saw very little of him. He worked hard, and Mr. and Ms. Carr were the run the people in charge at the grocery store part.
Okay.
And then Mr. Peel and Miss Singh or whoever over there in the dry goods. But he was, you know, he depended on the people like Mr. Hodges always hired help, you know, to do his
what were the hours in the mercantile store, and how many employees?
Listen, oh well, let's see, Mr. and Miss Carr were the regulars, and then I worked on Saturday. But I don't know if there were others or not. I don't remember anybody else. But anyway, I think I went to work at 8 in the morning, and at that time, Saturday Night Live was good in Headland, you know, and we didn't ever close before 9 o'clock.
When you say Saturday Night Live, I think of that television show. Is that what you're referring to, or something?
Well, let's just say it like this. Saturday night in Headland, on Saturday nights, Headland came alive.
Wow.
Yeah, lots of activity on Saturday night.
What was your favorite activity?
Oh, well, listen, to observe the crowds going by. But anyway, and then too, Alan, I don't know if you remember the telephone exchange that was up over what was Holly's, used to be Holly's Farms. You remember that?
Well, Uncle Jim pointed that out to me. I didn't remember it, but he mentioned that when he was giving me the tour of the square.
Well, anyway, that, and also on the second floor was Dr. Bertishaw's office. And a lot of times on Saturday there would be fights and altercations of whatever. And anyway, they would pull people up the steps to the doctor's office. He was but you know, that was part of Saturday too. Yes, but speaking of that, let me say this. This happened a long time later, but still there was the telephone office up overhead, and it was, you know, the girl who operated that had a view of everything going on in Headland around the square.
Was she good at keeping secrets, or did she?
No, well, she knew what was going on too. She probably could have done, but anyway, she knew what was going on, and at that time you had to go through the operator to get your number. You dial the phone and she would say, "Number please," and you would give her the number and she'd connect you. And so on one particular day somebody called and wanted, gave a Bump's van, the white van place over there, and she said, need to speak to Bumps. And he said, "Well, he's not there." She said, "He's not there. I just saw him go in at Ed's." But
is
anyway,
that right? She could see all across the square. And she didn't have binoculars.
Oh,
no. I guess they didn't have those huge oak trees.
That's true.
Let me ask you this. I looked at some of Uncle Wattie's yearbooks, his high school yearbooks, and it seems like you were in the same class in high school.
No. Missy was.
Okay. Do you remember anything about Wattie or does Missy at that time in high school about him? Do you remember her ever sharing any stories?
No, I really don't. I think Wattie was not always in Headland High School, was he? Didn't he go away?
He did go to, I think when he was younger, he went to military school.
I don't really know, but
But you didn't know him that well, did you?
No.
When he came back, didn't really associate with him. You mentioned one time about selling eggs. That your family sold some eggs or something?
Well, no. Soon after William and I were married, he was involved in farming, and it was a good idea for the farmer's wife, I guess, to have some little outside income or whatever. So anyway, he had us built a little house that had 12, I believe it was 12, maybe it was 24 cages for laying hens. And it was a real, innovative way to have chickens and eggs, I reckon. But anyway, that was my job, and I sold eggs, just from the house, of course. But anyway, Edith was my best customer because she always wanted 4 dozen. And
what would she do? I guess she would bake those cakes.
And she did that and scatter them all over town. I mean,
yes,
she cooked for a crowd of folks, besides her family,
She
but
did.
Anyway, she used eggs a lot, and I was always glad when she came.
That's wonderful. I want you to tell the story because it's just really, it's classic. When we went in high school, we went on that trip, I think 87, 88, went to Paris, London,
Oh,
Belgium.
gosh.
But I want you to tell about
Yeah.
Missy and the handbag that went missing. I want you to tell it like we were experiencing right now. It's the funniest thing ever.
I don't know that I can do that justice, but we've dragged into the hotel.
We're in Paris.
We're in Paris.
Okay.
And tired. We've had a busy day. And anyway, but we have been given our room assignments. Maybe somehow I don't really know how that went, to tell you the truth. But anyway, Missy comes back to the lobby where some of us are still around, and she says, "Thief, thief, thief." I don't know what all else she was saying, but anyway, I can't find my purse. Somebody stole my purse or whatever. But the good news was, after getting everybody's attention and making an utter fool of herself, then she found her purse right where she had put it.
That's great.
But I know, was it like that?
It was something like that. It was like, thief, someone got my bag, someone stole my bag.
Yeah.
But that was a classic. I also want to hear your take on the Napoleon's tomb.
Yeah, well, that one I would love to do because it involved me directly.
That's right.
But also, we have done a walking tour of Paris, and we finally come to Les Invalides, which is the museum of Napoleon.
Yeah, where he's entombed. Yes.
Oh, yes, he's entombed.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
And
I learned that from you.
I know it's true. Okay, listen, if this is cut, I want all of this. I would never agree to this. But if I don't have
the story, this is coming. Otherwise, I've been adding more parts to it over the years.
Oh,
I think the last time I told it, you were actually trying to open his tomb.
No.
So just tell the real story.
You're way off there.
Okay.
But listen, here we are. We drag into the building, and there's a walkway, a rotunda or whatever. But anyway, it has banisters all the way around it, but you are able to look down on the tomb of Napoleon.
Which is what he wanted, because people would bow to him.
Yeah,
okay.
well, I guess so. That makes sense, doesn't it?
That's it.
But anyway, tired as I was, and I lumbered up toward the banister and grabbed hold of it, and Mark, I don't know if it rattled or if it shook or whatever.
My dad, Mark, yeah.
But Mark Carroll Espy, well, he said, well, now, he just wanted, you're supposed to look, you're not supposed to get down there and talking to me.
That's funny. So
Killed me.
Did we say over time that you knocked that over? Is that the story?
I'm sure y'all have
embellished it. That's right.
But we're talking about Mark, though, this is the best thing of all about him. And his Charles V. King story, I know he's told you that. But anyway, it was a punctuation exercise in the book, and when we, go up and down the road, and when his turn came, the sentence was, Charles V, comma, King of Spain, so on and so forth. But there are no markings of any kind, and he just starts out reading. But first he turns around and gets the attention of everybody in the class. And then he looks up at me and down at the book, and he says, Charles V, King of Spain, blah, blah, blah. But anyway, by then everybody's in hysterics, including me.
He did that intentionally?
He did it, of course he did. Yes, he did. He planned it. But then the next part of that story is, and we always joke about it, but one time after I retired, I walked into the bank, and after a while, Mark came up, and I was, just talking only to him, and I said, well, I really need to get in the safety deposit box. That's what I came for. And he backs off and looks me up and down, and he said, I don't believe you can.
I don't believe you'll fit in it, right? I don't believe you can. That is wonderful.
I loved it, but he got me back again. So.
He knew he's pretty. We got his wit, his jokes. Right. He loves to joke a lot,
especially on people.
That's right. Was there anything else about that trip over that you remember about our travels? Was there anything else that stood out?
Well, the most important thing about that trip was there were 28 of us. There were 14 students and there were 14 adults. And we had people like Helen Drew and Juanita Carter and others who needed help with luggage, but always you or some of your friends. I mean, it was the sweetest group of people I've ever been in.
So you'd say out of all your trips overseas, that you'd say that we were the sweetest, best group. You can't say you only did two trips. I thought you went.
Oh, Ms. Morris went several times, but Sheila and I were in that group. That was 1988. The first time I was in 1984. That was a good
How did you learn French, and how did you become a French teacher?
Well, I'll tell you what, that's a long story. I had 2 years of French in high school. Miss Lee, Peggy's mother, Peggy Marley's mother, taught French and English. And then when I went to Huntington, I'd had 2 years, and so I could enroll in second year French and fulfill my requirement for the foreign language. So I did that. And in the meantime, I thought, well, that was a possible minor, and I did get a minor in French, but alas, all we ever did was to write English to French or French to English. Heard it, never spoken, it was not a problem to write it. You could look in the dictionary and get the right word, but as far as being able to say it, no. But as it was with you all, when I became, I don't know how it came.
Well, in our minds, you were just
really
fluent. You were so.
Because
and anyone that could speak a second language, you were the most cultured person in town.
Absolutely, I'm sure it showed too. But you're so funny. But the thing is, you could count to 10 in French, and you could say "I love you" in French.
I always remember you call on me, and I said "Je ne sais pas."
Oui.
All right, I do not understand. I don't know.
That was an appropriate answer for me too.
That's right. And when we reached your class, I don't know if it was a senior class or a junior class when we were studying with you, but you were on the way out. You were ready to.
Right, I was.
And in your mind, you were ready to get out of that place. So let me ask you this question, because I know Jeff and I,
y'all thought y'all sent me on.
We thought you said, but really, you were like happy, you were tickled, you were lenient on us, right? I mean, was that in part because you knew that I've just got to get through this year? Because we were a bit crazy. So. But would you say that a lot of the students at that time were just joking and teasing? Did it get under your skin, or did you more or less say, I'm almost out of here? How did you?
Alan, you're putting words in my mouth. Maybe that's the way it was. Maybe. But yeah. But this I remember too. The year that you were. What year did you graduate?
89.
Okay. Well, when Natalie, was she in your room?
Yes.
Okay. Well, now that crowd, I think I had French the last period in the day. And yours was second period, if I recall.
It might have been.
But anyway, we were going to make they all, wanted to have a picnic. And it was decided that we would go to the covered bridge at Hilton, Georgia for a picnic.
I believe
you remember that?
I certainly do.
And there were all sorts of volunteers about who would bring what. And I remember Natalie said, I'd get Uncle Jim to make us a pound cake. But I don't know.
Did he do it? Did he?
I imagine so. If Natalie told him, don't you imagine?
That's probably so. Yeah.
But anyway, that was that was a long time before gas was rationed or anything. So it was easy to get a school bus to go. And Cindy DeShazo said, I can be the nurse. We made it.
Everybody's looking for a reason to go on that trip, right?
I'm telling you, we had everything. Legal, everything was just right, and we went up there and had a real good time and came back home. But wasn't that something that
it was? I remember that, but I did feel a little bit guilty maybe after that year, because I thought, because Jeff and I, we'd get together and reminisce about what's happened. I thought, well, we gave her, not personally, but we were having so much fun. But looking back on it, you were exceptionally nice, and I think, well, gosh, she was ready to go. We jokingly said we pushed you into retirement, but you were ready to go. How many years were you in the school system over there?
Well, 29 in Headland. The first year I taught was in Dothan, and then I didn't teach 6 years when the children were little. And then 29.
And you got your degree from Huntington? Okay. Last question, I think. Your ancestors, going back. How far can you trace them back in your line?
I'm not good at all, and in fact, when I see Ancestry.com come up on the TV, I think, well, I ought to have something in writing. The time when I could have gotten that information, I didn't have time to sit and listen. You know what I mean?
I just wonder, do you know from what states, as far as you know, you are from Alabama?
No, there's a real good record of Williams family, the Baxters, but there's nothing much for me that I have, and I'm the oldest person in my generation now, and I sure don't know, and I don't have anybody I can go ask.
Is that right? Okay. What was interesting is looking back at those books. When you were in high school, you had some kind of title, like most likely to succeed, or friendliest, or the pretty. You were very strikingly beautiful, I think. When I saw this picture, not that I didn't expect it, because you still are attractive, but I thought, well, gosh, she was a catch back then.
You're funny.
No. I mean, I have to ask other people of your generation what they think, but I've got pictures speak volumes. Tell me about that time. And
okay, well, I'll tell you this. Junior Cruz, you don't know, but he was the father of Pete Cruz. And we were our neighbors back to back, and always, but anyway, guess what his name for me was?
What?
Lord.
Lord? But that couldn't have been...
It was true. And one day I was skipping along that sidewalk where the Carolyn's Beauty Shop in Espy Mercantile, and you know there was a dip in the sidewalk. You remember that? Okay, and I was skipping along there and fell and looked up, and it was Junior Cruz was the only audience I had for that.
He was teasing, but sometimes people give nicknames do the opposite.
No, that wasn't it.
Or maybe he really liked you.
I was a heavyweight.
You were, but I saw a picture of you, and I swear you sort of, I don't know if it was Ava Gardner.
No, well,
had to look at you, but I thought it was very. I thought it was.
Okay, and then I want permission to edit these.
Well, there won't be anything. I mean, you're so sweet. I won't do anything. I didn't sneak anything on you the last time. Remember, I was good with that.
I don't know, but anyway.
But I think there's a part of you though, Miss Baxter, because you're so humble and sweet that you really don't want to be. You say, "Well, I don't want," but there's a part of you that. Because you look how nice. I don't dress up like this at 11 o'clock in the morning. You knew we were coming. And if the Queen of England came to this town and said she wanted to have a tea, the only person I would be thinking that could hold a tea for the Queen would be you.
Okay, I'm going to say this, that what does the Bible say about lying?
Okay. But that's not lying. I mean, come on, Miss Baxter. Couldn't you have a good tea party? And I think you could talk with her about Buckingham Palace. You and Miss Morris could do that. Or you tell us about how you would visit up in New Jersey. When you told me that you would meet Glenn Barfield in Manhattan and then go over to New Jersey, how did you arrange that? You went by yourself? I always thought that was...
that was a story to tell. Now listen, I don't leave home often. I do a lot of running around town, you know, in the wiregrass maybe, but I was going to be away from home for 2 nights.
Now what year was it? How long ago was this?
Oh, this was 4 years ago.
Just 4 years ago?
Just meant that it might have been 5 maybe.
5 years ago, okay.
But anyway, I was flying out of Dothan to Newark, and the plane was to leave. Well, Peggy Marley had said she'd take me, and I said, no, when I get back on Sunday, I need to have the car there, and, you know, so I'll just drive myself. So I drove myself over there for the 10 o'clock departure, but I got there at 9, and anyway, learned at 10 o'clock that the plane had been delayed for 2 hours. So anyway, I sat 4 hours over there before we ever got. And then when we got to Atlanta, the pilot said that the weather would not allow us to land in Atlanta, so we were flying to Augusta, where we stayed until 4:30 that afternoon and came back to Atlanta to get on the plane. Well, anyway, long story short, I got to Hoboken. Tom met me, of course, and I'd been involved with him all the way. I did have a telephone, my little cell phone.
But what about your experience of meeting Glenn Barfield? Didn't you see him, and did you like spend an afternoon with him?
Yes, we did. He suggested that we go. I don't know how it happened that we. That's a little bit fuzzy. You'll have to depend on Glenn.
Well, I might just have to talk with him, but you did get together with him in New York.
We did.
And did you see his apartment, or
no?
But you had lunch, maybe?
No, I think we would have gone in a coffee shop, maybe, or something. But no, I don't remember. But he gave us an afternoon of walking around part of Manhattan. And then that afternoon, for the evening, I had told Tom I wanted to see the Brooklyn Bridge because Diana had done a report on it, and then I wanted to do a play. And it doesn't matter anything. And so Virginia had chosen something kind of like Cirque du Soleil, something the children would enjoy, and that was fun. And then Sunday I came home.
Interesting.
But listen too, Tom, I was supposed to leave at 11 that morning, and it was still bad weather. Do you know what time I left New York? 6 in the afternoon, but he had put me off thinking that I'd be leaving.
So you just stayed at the airport the whole time?
And I could have been visiting with them.
Well, you could have texted. I'm sure now you probably would text him or something, right? Or send him a tweet.
But we got on and off the plane 2 or 3 times, but then they'd say we can't go.
Yeah.
But anyway,
That's
that was
bad.
a weekend, but it was more often in the air and over Georgia.
Fascinating. And how many children and grandchildren do you have?
Well, we have 2 that lived in Montgomery. Both of them are college graduates. Ross works in Cincinnati, and Elise has just graduated from Alabama and looking for work. And then we have, in Hoboken, we have Campbell, who will graduate from high school, and Diana, his little sister, is in 5th grade.
Where is Campbell going on to college?
Well, I think there's a possibility he might be at Alabama.
Is that right? We'll make sure Dad knows about this.
I know it. I listen. Well, you see, it's like this. I don't really know that whether that'll come to be, but he talks like, he and Elise and Ross talk like that kind of.